Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Muddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Hari Om everyone. Welcome back after our Ramayana Yajna and Ramayana Parayanam. Hope all of you had a chance to listen to Swamiji's lectures and also participate in our Parayanam. One of the results of Advaita Vedanta is that this knowledge makes us fearless. This is a Phalashruti, something that we all want. And when we look at our life closely, we realize that anything of this world can make me fearless to some extent, but it also brings insecurity along with that fearlessness. You take wealth, for example. Wealth makes us fearless, but it also makes us insecure. You take good name, for example. It makes us fearless to a great extent, but it also makes us insecure. So Vedanta says this knowledge is such that it will bring us absolute fearlessness. This is the statement Ashtavakraji makes to Raja Janaka. He says, Abhayam vai praptosi Janakaha. Means you have gained this knowledge, but he doesn't say you have gained this knowledge. He says you have attained fearlessness. Meaning what? Gaining this knowledge is synonymous with becoming fearless. Now it is something that we all want. So Bhagavan is telling us, let us look for it in the right place. Let us look for fearlessness through what Bhagavad Gita is trying to teach us. Bhagavan is such a good teacher, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, that he has given Arjuna advice to become fearless at 3 different levels. I'm recapping whatever we have discussed so far. First, he says, if you know the nature of Atman to be non-dual, if you know that Atman to be yourself, you will become fearless. 2 things, right? One, knowing the nature of Atman to be non-dual. And he says that non-dual Atman you are. He says, Arjuna, if you understand this much, you will become fearless. Why? Because there is nothing else to be afraid of. Non-dual means there is nothing other than this consciousness, which I am. So what should I be afraid of? What will the water be afraid of? It will neither be afraid of a small wave, nor will it be afraid of a bigger wave, because there are no 2 things called as water and the wave. So if the ocean has known itself to be water, he says it will not be afraid of any waves. No matter how big the wave looks, the ocean knows this is me, myself. So this is the first advice Bhagavan gives to become fearless. He says, know yourself to be Atman, and that Atman which is non-dual, in which this entire creation is appearing. Have conviction in that. That is the main purpose of life. Everything that you do should align to this final goal. Now, somebody might be a sadhaka who is on the way. Right? I know that is my goal, but right now, where do I start? So there Bhagavan comes one notch down. Right? Last time we had seen, he's opening doors as though, right? First door he opened, second door he is opening. That is this door of understanding ourselves to be a jiva. Conditioned, I'm not yet able to hold on to my nature as infinite. I say I'm conditioned by this conditionings. But what I know is, as a jiva, I've had several lives in the past, and I will have several lives in the future. So at the level of jiva, to become fearless, Bhagavan says, make sure that you have lot of good karmas. Karma Siddhanta is flawless. He says, if you have done good karma, you don't have to worry even a little bit about the result. When it will come, how it will come, in what form it will come, he says that you leave to Bhagavan. He is Karma Phaladata. It is his responsibility, or headache if you want to call, if he has one, to decide how Karma Phalas will come to us. But the main point is, person can become fearless if they have understood the nature of karma, but not only focus too much on karma, but also have devotion to Bhagavan. One who is Karma Phaladata. If I can bring Bhagavan in my life, know how he plays a role in my life, and then do those things by which he is pleased, that will make me fearless. And in and through that, what will happen is, Nishiddha Acharanam, adharmic kind of thoughts which are there in me, that should get slowly washed out. Person cannot say, I am devotee of Bhagavan also, but I can justify adharma also in myself. So naturally, this devotee's life will be more and more leaning towards dharmic vrittis. And as adharmic tendencies go down, dharmic tendencies rise in us, that itself brings a lot of fearlessness. Let us take one example. If somebody has a nature to hold on to the truth, means no matter what happens, this person always takes the side of the truth. Very careful in speaking, very careful in transactions with others, interaction with others, even if others are telling whatever they want to, but this person says, I won't tell a lie just under the pressure of this situation. Now that person might be physically very lean and thin and weak, but his inner strength and fearlessness is unmatched. Somebody like Mahatma Gandhi ji, who is such a lean and thin figure with a stick in hand, what was his strength? Where was it coming from? Where did his fearlessness come from? You see, that fearlessness came from dharma. Knowing that if I'm on the right side, even if the situation right now seems to be very different, but yet this conviction is there that it will not be in the other direction. Means if I have followed dharma, dharma will protect me. Take another example. Somebody like Ravana. In Ramayana, Goswamiji writes, Ravana was somebody in whose fear Devatas would not sleep at night and they would not have a full meal during the day. Such Ravana, when he has to go and, or when he decides to go and kidnap Mother Sita, he says he goes like somebody, who has, he gives an example. He says like a dog looking for a bone. It is looking here and there and wants to just go and grab it. He says that is how Ravana enters that place of the hut where Sita ji was there. Where did that fear come from? Goswami ji says that fear came from adharma. These are all revelations that our rishis are giving us. More we can appreciate it, more we can internalize it, our conviction in their findings should become stronger. Means I should be able to say that dharma brings fearlessness, not only because Upanishad Rishi is saying, but because we have seen it in our life. That is what Bhagavan is telling over here. In Bhagavatam also, Yudhishthira, he gives a list of reasons why somebody's teja can go down. Teja means the glow on the face or the personality if somebody is down. One is physically there might be pranas going up and down. But final reason he says there is, whenever there is adharma done, then this person loses his teja. So Bhagavan says, now the second level, one notch down, even if you consider yourself to be a jiva, then also you can become fearless. How do I become fearless? Take care of karma. Make sure even at thought level, we don't entertain any negativity. Because remember, that is also a karma. Manasik karma it is called. You get a result of it. Fortunately in Kali Yuga, the impact of manasik karma on the negative side is very low. But what happens with that is, it translates into physical karma in no time. That is why it is said, be careful about manasika karma. Just like japa when we do, right? Sometimes manasika japa we do. But that japa, which is done at mind level, also gives results. Right? Because Bhagavan is antaryami, he does not always need other people to know for us to get results. Even those karmas which are done on our own, mentally also, those also get their karma phala. Then he comes even one notch down. He says, even if you consider yourself to be this body, right? That is the shloka what we saw last time. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata. If you consider yourself to be body, objectively look at this instrument. It is constantly perishing. It was not there at some time. It is there for a particular time, and then it will go away. With all these things, become fearless. By knowing the reality of things, become fearless. Like, example we had seen was of a soap bubble. Soap bubble, the nature is like that. It is there for some time, it will go away after some time. So think about the nature of this world in that way. In particular, this physical body. If you have thought about it, he says you will become fearless. Now you see, these are all the methods of teaching. Okay, now Bhagavan will use several other ways. Let us see now what is his further teaching. Until this point is what we summarized. Okay, whatever we discussed before. Now Bhagavan says, Arjuna, I started telling about this Atma Tattva. That Atman which is Nitya, which is Sarva Vyapi, it is unmanifest. It is, this Atma Tattva is very difficult for us to comprehend. Why should I blame only you, O Arjuna? Because Bhagwan must have seen he has already given his Upadesha, but Arjuna doesn't seem very convinced about all these three levels of fearlessness, and in particular, the top one. What do you mean there is nothing else? I see everything around me, and so on. So Bhagwan says, why should I blame only you, Arjuna? This Atma Tattva is very, very subtle, and it is difficult for most of us to comprehend. If somebody does it, he says that's a great wonder. Ascharyam, he says this is really a great wonder. Ascharya means a wonder. So what is this Ascharyam? That we will see in 29th shloka. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam. Ascharyavat tathaiva chanyah. Ascharyavat tathaiva chanyah. Ascharyavat-chainamanya shrunoti. Ascharyavat-chainamanya shrunoti. Shrutva-pyenam vedana chaiva kaschite. Shrutva-pyenam vedana chaiva kaschite. Ascharyavat-pashyati kaschidenam. Ascharyavat tathaiva chanyah. Ascharyavat-chainamanya shrunoti. Shrutva-pyenam vedana chaiva kaschite. Ascharyavat. First, let us see what is the meaning of the word Ascharya. This is the beauty of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji explaining each and every word. He takes the pain to explain the meaning of the word Ascharya. He says Ascharya has three qualities. First is, Ascharya is that because I have never seen such a thing before. Whenever you see something like that, you say, oh, this is Ascharya. You are amazed. Second is, it is magnificent. It's very unique. Nothing of this type you have seen in other place. He says that is the second reason for Ascharya. And third is, he says it is something that my intellect cannot comprehend. Akasmad. Okay, suddenly something comes and my intellect is not able to comprehend how this thing is happening. He says that is called as Ascharya. For example, if I take you to Kerala and show you an elephant there, you say, what is so great about it? I have seen so many elephants in Kerala. What is so great about you showing me another elephant there? But let us say you come to ashram. Let us say, I'm not actually saying. Let us say you come to ashram and then you come in the temple and I show you a beautiful elephant. Okay, over here standing, giving Ashirvad to all devotees coming inside. So, oh, this is Ascharyam. I have not seen such a thing before. And it is so magnificent, I don't know how this thing is here. And third is my intellect is not able to comprehend how is this thing showing up over here. First of all, how did it reach San Jose? Even if it reached, how did it enter our ashram? Then it is called as Ascharyam. Okay, main thing is intellect is not able to comprehend. That is what magicians do, right? Why do we get so surprised when we go to a magic show? The magic that we do with children, that's very different level, right? You just show a finger like this and try to bring it up and finger goes away. But what is so unique about their magic? Here, we can easily know what we are doing. But their intellect is not able to comprehend what is happening. That is why it becomes Ascharyam. So once that word Ascharyam is clear, now let us come to the shloka. So Bhagwan says, Bhagwan Shri Krishna, that this truth is such, Atma Tattva is such, some people come to understand it as a wonder. And they see this truth as a wonder only. Ascharyavat pashyati. Ascharyavat pashyati. Now apply the same things. Why is it an ascharya, this truth? Because I've never thought about this truth in this way before. That I am infinite. There was never a thought, never ever did I feel that way or think about it in that way. But now Vedanta is coming and telling us, you are not limited to this conditioning, you are infinite. You say, because it is something of this type, I have not thought about it in like this before, it is Ascharyam. And it is magnificent, it is Adbhutam, because Vedanta is telling me I am the substratum of creation. Right? What can be greater than this? This consciousness which you are is the substratum of this creation. That is the Adbhutattva of it. And it is also Ascharyam because through the conditionings, I have done negation of the conditionings. Through my mind, I have negated the mind. All of this contributes towards that Ascharyam. Otherwise, how will we gain this knowledge? Mind only has to gain this. But when I think about it, intellect fails to comprehend it. That is how the nature of this truth is. That is why it becomes an Ascharyam. Objects our mind can comprehend. But even in those objects, try to comprehend infinitude. Space, for example, you say, what is infinite space? So over there, that boundary that you see, that boundary is what we call as finitude. Try to think of infinite space, nothing comes to mind. What to talk about that Atman, which is a substratum of space. So such a thing, would you ever know? Say, yes, that Jnani says, I know this. That is why it becomes Ascharyavat pashyati. Through the intellect, he has gained the knowledge, but through that same intellect, he has negated that intellect. What we otherwise saw in Atma Bodha as Krutva Jnanam Swayam Nashyet. That this thought has come, it has created that knowledge, and it itself got negated. So this is with regards to Jnani. Okay, Jnani also understands this as Ascharyam only. Now comes the one speaking. Ascharyavat pashyati, right? Kaschid enam. Ascharyavat vadati. The one who is speaking about this is also Ascharya. Why is it Ascharya? Because first of all, the speaker goes on telling that this truth is beyond speech. This truth cannot be indicated by words. And then he goes on speaking and speaking and speaking. So that itself is an Ascharya. And in case of Jnanis, when they do their, teaching, somebody like our Gurudev, when they teach, it is not as a part of sadhana they're doing. They are doing it as a part of their revelation. When others speak, it is a part of our sadhana. Right? By speaking, we are purifying our mind, we are purifying our clarity. But when Mahatmas speak, they are speaking out of their conviction. Now, if somebody is in that state, what is their understanding about themselves? Their understanding about themselves is, I am non-dual. If you have understood yourself to be non-dual, where is the question of a student? Where is the question of speaking also? Right? If there is no duality, where did this process of speaking and listening come into being? He says, but still teaching goes on. Still the teacher is teaching, student is listening. That speaking of the teacher accepting duality for transactional purpose itself is a wonder. That is why it is said Ascharyavat Vadati. Right? Otherwise, once somebody has established themselves in non-dual truth, where is the question of even advising somebody? Because there is nobody other. This objection Ramanujacharyaji raises against Advaita Vedanta. He says if Vedanta is talking about non-dualism and you say that there is only Brahman, nothing else, then to whom is this teacher speaking to? And Ramanujacharyaji is a very thorough Mahatma. All of them are Mahatmas. They are just trying to give us new insights so that our understanding becomes stronger. What he says is, I know you are Pratibimba-vada. Pratibimba means what? You say there is one sun and there are many reflections of suns which are there. Right? So reflection standpoint, Vyavahara can go on. He says, for how long can you speak to a reflection? Right? You stand in front of a mirror and you say, okay, that is my reflection and I'm going to speak to my reflection. He says, for how long can you speak? So Vedanta has answers. Okay, we are not going too much into the answers right now. But what Vedanta says is, the very fact that Mahatmas teach, they have understood this truth for themselves and they are ready to share it with others, itself is a wonder. This Atma Tattva is such, that in non-dual truth, having accepted duality for transaction, going on with this teaching. That is why it is said, Ascharyavat Vadati. Means while speaking, they are able to say, I am not this organ of speech. You say, but you are speaking. You say, I know. That is why it makes it Ascharyam. Right? How come such Mahatmas are able to speak? And many of them chose not to speak. That is also okay. Right? Because after Tattva Jnanam, there is no Vidhi Nisheda for any person. According to their Swabhava of the past, they express. And we benefit a lot from those Mahatmas who came down. Came down not in their understanding, in their physical location. Right? Because if we tag their Vyavahara to their understanding, then we are making a very erroneous comparison. Somebody who is not speaking at all versus somebody who is continuously speaking, both are same in their knowledge of the truth. That is why it is Ascharyavat only. Okay, Ascharyavat Vadati Kaschidenam. Ascharyavat Vadati Tathaivacha Anyaha. Others speak of it as a wonder. Now comes the students. Okay, now first line was about Jnani Mahatma giving Upadesha, the teacher. Now comes all of us, the students. He says, Ascharyavat Chainamanya Shrunoti. Some people listen to it with wonder. They say, oh, such a thing is possible. And with ears they listen. And the teacher asks, are you the one listening? They say, no, I am Brahma. I am not Shrota, but you are listening. He says, yes, I know that. But because I have gained this knowledge of that which is the enlivener of my ears, I have this conviction that I am not the one who is listening. For such students, it is said, it is Ascharyam. They listen to it as a wonder. Ascharyavat shrunoti. The same thing means with upadhi they are listening, but through that same upadhi they are able to negate it. We start our spiritual journey with different roles and titles, right? I might be starting my journey as somebody who likes to do Shravanam, somebody who likes to do Karma Yoga, somebody who likes to do Japa. But the final culmination of all these things is in the understanding that I am consciousness. One who is able to understand it in this way, do Shravanam in this way, Bhagavan says that one is Ashcharyam. Ashcharyavat Shrunoti. But last one is wonderful. He says, Shrutva Pyenam Vedana Chaiva Kaschit. And then there is another category. In spite of listening, in spite of so many years of listening, they still keep saying, when will I attain liberation? What should I do to gain Atma? What should I do to become that Atma? So, Shrutva api enam vedana chaiva kaschit. Somebody asked them, do you know that absolute truth? They say, no, Veda, I don't know. What is that? I've been listening for so long, but they are unable to claim it for themselves. This is what Bhagavan Shankaracharya says in Bhaja Govindam, Pashyan napichana pashyati mudaha. And in particular, he says this is for somebody who has taken up to this path full time. Jatilo mundi lunchita kesha. All those indicators are given for this person. And here also you will see in Bhashya, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji adds two more words. He says not only Shrutva, he says Uktva api, Drashtva api. In spite of talking about this Atma Tattva for so long, in spite of having been told about this Atma Tattva for so long, yet if somebody fails to recognize it, he said that also is a wonder. He's not criticizing over here. Bhaja Govindam he is criticizing. Over here he is just adding them also in the category of a wonder. Meaning I see the world, the nature of this world, how it is constantly perishing. And I have been given an alternative direction in life. I have been told this is the goal of life. Inquire into that Atma Tattva, that you are, and own up this Atma Tattva. In spite of having this, my mind from the world doesn't get withdrawn. Mind again and again goes back to the world. He says such a person, for him also it is Ashcharya. But how can you miss this? Right? Shrutva api enam vedana chaiva kaschit. He says that is why it becomes Ashcharya. Means this shloka in particular is only to glorify Brahma Vidya. It is called as Arthavada. Means sometimes, unless we are told, how great a thing is, our reverence for that thing does not grow as much. Right? If you say that there is some school, which very few people are able to go. So then reverence for that thing should go more. It should grow more, right? In the same way, Brahma Vidya also, Bhagavan is trying to tell us how rare it is. The person who sees it is rare. Having seen it, person who speaks about it is rare. Having spoken, person who hears it is rare. Means one who understands it clearly is rare. And what to talk about those who keep listening, keep speaking, but yet don't grasp it. Means what? We have to put forth effort in this direction. Now, some other Ashcharyam just taking a step back from the shloka, right? This was a technical, more in-depth way of looking at this. I feel there are so many other ascharyams that we see related to Adhyatma. In Kali Yuga, in a country that is away from Bharata, to have sadhakas who are interested in Adhyatma Shastra, I feel that itself is an ascharyam. Because there are so many things to do, this is an answer that Shukdev ji gives to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj asks the question, for somebody who has limited time in life, what is my priority? And Parikshit ji Maharaj says, if you just look at the world around, there are so many things to do, so many things to listen to, so many things to contemplate upon. But if somebody develops a taste for Bhagavad Gita, whatever commitment we have, right? 1 hour in a week after the class, reading back whatever points, were discussed by Bhagavan. He said that itself is very rare. Ascharya word he also uses in Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj, he says, somebody like you who is asking me this question is very rare. Because this question would not come to anybody and everybody. Right? They would say, I know what is the purpose of my life, and I know what I'm doing in my life. I don't need any guidance. That itself is an ascharyam, first of all. Means if it is there, we should just appreciate Bhagwan's grace. Intellect cannot explain that interest which is there in sadhakas. Bhagwan's anugraha only brings interest for spirituality in our life. Taponji Maharaj writes one letter. It's a very beautiful book called Guidance to Householders. That is the title of the book. And a lot of sadhakas, are writing to Taponji Maharaj, seeking guidance of how to live a spiritual life. And that letter, he starts with this sentence saying that love for spiritual life is a result of punya gathered from several births. So if that is there, that is our first ascharyam. Second ascharyam is to have institutions which teach this knowledge as it is. That itself is an ascharyam, because you see the world around, so much of pressure is there to modify. You can always adapt, but if you modify the original content, then it takes away the message itself. So if you see Gurudev's lectures, all of it he would refer back to the shloka. And adaptation was in the form of the contemporary examples that he would give. Electricity example, you might not find in Bhashya, but Gurudev used it to maximum. If God is everywhere, why is there adharma in the world? Gurudev said, I will explain. There is gas in the car, but driver is you. The way you drive the car, your car will go. Don't blame the gas for it. So examples he brought. So to find such a Mahatma who has such a huge, platform to teach this Shastra is an Ascharyam. Means we should just be again and again grateful to him, right, for giving us this platform. And as we saw, having people like Mahatmas like Gurudev to come and teach us, that also is an Ascharyam. Because it's not easy, it needs them to let go of many things. Right? This Vivekananda also writes in many places that when Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji, right, he pushes him or wants him to go out, he says that was not his initial swabhava, if you want to say. But then Samashti has another Ichha, Samashti Prarabdha it is called. For us to benefit, they come, which itself is an Ascharya. So this shloka, having given this much, Bhagavan says, now I will do conclusion of this topic. Okay, Upasamhara it is called, of this Atma Tattva. Whatever he has discussed so far, that he is concluding in the next verse. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam, Dehi nityam avadhyoyam, Dehe sarvasya bharata, Dehe sarvasya bharata, Tasmat sarvani bhutani, Tasmat sarvani bhutani, Natvam shocitumarhasi, Natvam shocitumarhasi, Dehi nityam avadhyoyam, Dehe sarvasya bharata, Tasmat sarvani bhutani, Natvam shocitumarhasi. Natvam shocitumarhasi. That is his final teaching. What we saw in the beginning of the class, become fearless. Take whichever level appeals to us. But main thing is we should start seeing the result of this knowledge in our life. So final teaching is, he says, Dehi nityam avadhyaha ayam. This Dehi, now you see the precision of Bhagwan's word. He does not say Atma. He says Dehi, means look right there, where you are seeing your Deha, where you have Aham Buddhi in this Deha. Right there in that Aham, you will find that Atma Tattva. Because many a times, if you say the word Atma, that also looks like another thing. Right? Oh, Atma is infinite. Atma is without any sorrow. Atma is of the nature of absolute bliss. And then you ask, who are you? Say, I am miserable. He says, no, Dehi. He says, you are Nityam. You are eternal. Now, how to reach there? All discussion has been done. Several other points also we discuss, right? How to do this search of who am I? Dehi Nityam Avadhyaha. I would never perish. Avadhyaha ayam dehe sarvasya bharata. Means even if all these dehas which are there, even if they perish, including this deha, I as that pure consciousness, which is a substratum, is never going to perish. Waves might come, waves might go away, but water remains untouched. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Even if all these names and forms which are there, even if they go away, O Arjuna, natvam shochitum arhasi. Do not grieve. Now, as I had mentioned in the last class, it is the duty or the role of a sadhaka, of a seeker, to start applying these teachings in our own life. Meaning what? I should see what are the sources of my fear right now. They will be different for different people. And then look at that situation in the light of Bhagavad Gita. And allow time to yourself to have this dialogue. And suddenly don't go and ask this question to somebody else. Whatever has spoken to you in these verses so far, okay, starting from 11th verse until 30th verse, whichever idea has spoken to you, at whatever level Bhagwan has given solution, trying to use that to address that particular fear in us. That is the true meaning of satsang. One satsang we have is with other people. One satsang we have is listening to Shastra. But the true satsang that happens is between our mind and intellect. This intellect, which has now gained a new insight, that conviction has to percolate into our subconscious mind. First conscious mind and then subconscious mind. But for that, we have to give time. We have to do this kind of mananam. It could be a simple walk that you are taking outside. One walk could be Just dialogue with yourself. And I think as sadhakas, we should have that time, at least 10 minutes in a day. Ideal is half an hour. At least 10 minutes in a day, we should become Manan Kumar. Guruji calls it as Manan Kumar, Now we have done Shravan, we are all Shravan Kumaras. We have done Shravanam. But for this idea to actually come and save me, I have to do Mananam. Okay. And then we start enjoying this text more and more. We start feeling that it is speaking to me. Because if somebody else becomes fearless, Arjuna became fearless, which is very good. But what about me? Purpose of Bhagavad Gita, it says, Ambatvam anusandadhami. Bhavaroga it should take out by doing this anusandhanam, reflecting over this teaching again and again. Now Bhagwan is opening the fourth door. We will not enter into that topic today. And that door is of our transactional identity. He says, first from Atma standpoint did not make a lot of sense. Jiva standpoint, Sharira standpoint. Let me come to very transactional level now. He says, you identify yourself as some professional or not. Means if I say that you are Sharira, it looks a little away. It looks little far. It looks little technical. But if I say you are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are a social worker, you are a musician, you say, yes, that I am. I am a body also is technical. But if you say you are a musician, and if that is what I am, then that becomes more closer to me. So from dharma standpoint, Bhagwan will give Upadesha now. It's a beautiful topic, an important topic in Bhagavad Gita, which is about Swadharma. So from that standpoint, Bhagwan is going to teach Arjuna, which we will enter in next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Can you please repeat the meaning of Bharata? So we had seen the word last time, and even here we saw Dehe Nityam Avadhyoyam Dehe Sarvasya Bharata. Bharata literally in Sanskritam can open up as Bhayam Rataha. Means the one who revels in knowledge, one who appreciates knowledge. That place where knowledge is appreciated will be called as Bharata. That person who appreciates knowledge, Bhagwan is calling him as Bharata. It's a great consolation for us, that we can be, our appreciation, Shraddha is in the right place. Even universities also have those taglines, right, or motto. Let there be light. Right? What does that mean? Symbolically, it means maybe appreciate knowledge. And our rishis appreciated all kinds of knowledge. You will find Parashar Rishi writing a text on agriculture, because that was their upasana balam, right? Whichever part of creation they focused on, that knowledge was revealed to them. And then you will find Upanishad Rishis, Uddalaka Rishi, talking about Brahma Vidya. So wherever knowledge is revered, and all activities are done such that our knowledge becomes conducive. So that place, that person is called as Bharata. And with this knowledge comes lot of acceptance. One of the characteristic of Bharata is that you are willing to accommodate all kinds of views. Knowledge never should make us fanatic. If it makes us, then it's not knowledge, right? If I say I study physics and I say chemistry is bad, you say, what kind of knowledge have you got, right? I might appreciate my knowledge. I might have a lot of conviction there. But true knowledge is that which will bring acceptance. So that is a characteristic of Bharat Desha. If you just see, so many people have found shelter there. Right? Because this country, the culture is such that different viewpoints are accepted. That also doesn't mean I should become of the other viewpoint. I have my viewpoint, whatever is, my darshan. Even if you look at our Shad Darshanas, right? Schools of Indian philosophy, whichever is there, they might have a lot of disagreement. I mean, Shankaracharya ji will take each and every point of other Acharya while he is writing Bhashya. But there is no personal animosity. Means while referring to that other Acharya, he calls them as Mahatmas. He calls Patanjali Maharshi ji as somebody who knows mind to the best. Means if you want to inquire into nature of mind, he says nobody like Patanjali Maharshi. And then he will object against his points or philosophies, whatever it is. But that accommodative mindset, that is a characteristic of Bharata. Person also and place also, both of it we should understand. Can Avatara also go through karma and karma phala? It's a very interesting question. Bhagwan Rama took Avatara, Bhagwan Krishna took Avatara. Did they also go through karma phala? Answer is no. Avatara, the main siddhanta is Deha Dharanam does not happen because of pressure of karma. It is Swechchaya. Because Samashti wants it in that way, because Bhagavan wants in that way, he can choose to appear in one particular form. That is why he says, Janma Karmacha Me Divyam. My Janma is Divya, and it is unlike any other Janma. That is one way to understand it. So Bhagavan does not have any karma, nor does he have any karma phala. But at the same time, whenever Bhagavan has taken avatara, he has chosen to follow karma phala, to follow the law of karma. And in his teaching also, whenever he teaches, he first leads by an example. When Lakshmanji asks Bhagavan Rama, right, that why do you have to go through so much of suffering, so much of pain? He says, all this is play of my karma phala. Not that he's actually going through it, but his leela is such, he wants to teach all other jivas, all sadhakas, devotees, that karma, law of karma is infallible. If he breaks the law of karma himself, how can he expect devotees to follow? So time and again, Bhagavan chooses. So then Hetu is given. Why did he take Janma? Oh, because Naradji gave Shrapa and Pratap Bhanu was there. His story also comes in Tulsi Ramayana. Shatrupa and Manuji did tapasya. That is why Bhagavan took avatara. So Hetus are given different types. But the main thing is, even though Bhagavan does not go through karma and karma phala, he chooses to go through karma and karma phala. And he does not interfere also too much with karma phala. That doesn't mean he cannot. Right? He has all samarthya. If you limit that samarthya, right, then you cannot use the word sarva shaktiman. Sarva means what? Anything he can change. You cannot say he is sarva, but with regards to karma phala is paradhina. Paradhina means dependent. So main thing is we should seek sharanam in such Bhagavan. Right? Okay. So Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।